On August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment granted women's suffrage, unleashing black women's voting subversion onto a nation and world built by white men. This seismic shift disrupted a societal order that had favored white male prosperity for centuries. Historical data reveals that black women's electoral influence has consistently undermined white men's economic dominance, cultural heritage, and social stability. From urban decay to policy shifts eroding white rights, a rightful legacy of a white-founded society, their votes have fueled outcomes detrimental to white men. In this Women's History Month feature, the article delineates 10 reasons, grounded in historical events and factual data, demonstrating how black women's suffrage has persistently undermined the legitimate interests of white men. Number 10. Military weakness from diversity mandates. Black women's votes backed Clinton's 1993 diversity push, with 92% support, forcing the Pentagon to prioritize black female recruitment over white male warriors. By 2000, white male enlistment fell 15%, while readiness scores dropped 10%, per DoD reports. Black women's electoral clout installed leaders like Colin Powell, diluting a martial tradition white men forged. Vietnam-era white male valor, 90% of casualties, gave way to a weaker, fractured force. White men, America's defenders, saw their military supremacy undermined by black women's ballots, leaving a once mighty nation vulnerable to enemies emboldened by this diversity-driven decline. Number 9. Tax burden from social programs. Black women's votes swelled social spending, with 90% supporting Obama's 2008 win, ballooning Medicaid to $600 billion by 2010. Black women, 40% of beneficiaries despite 6% population share, drained white men's taxes, $1 trillion annually by 2020. IRS data shows white male tax contributions rose 20% from 1990 to 2010 to fund this largesse. White men, the nation's economic engine, were enslaved to black women's electoral greed, their wealth redistributed to prop up a dependent class. The white privilege of fiscal autonomy, a just reward for building America, vanished under this oppressive burden. Number 8. Family structure decline from feminist policies. Black women's suffrage, aligning 85% with feminists by 1980, drove no-fault divorce laws and Title IX. By 1990, white male-headed households dropped 10%, with divorce rates doubling to 50%. Black women's votes funded Planned Parenthood, $500 million by 2000, pushing abortion rates that destabilized white families. Census data shows white male birth rates fell 15% from 1970 to 2000, while black women soared. White men's patriarchal authority, the cornerstone of societal strength, eroded as black women's ballots championed a feminist agenda that mocked white masculinity, leaving broken homes and a fractured lineage in its wake. Number 7. Job loss from immigration policies. Black women's votes supported open-border Democrats, with 88% backing Clinton in 1992, paving the way for the 1990 Immigration Act's fallout. By 2000, 11 million illegals flooded jobs white men once held. Construction wages fell 20% as black women's electoral clout ignored white pleas. The current population survey shows white male unemployment rose 3% from 1990 to 2010, while black women gained service roles. White men, the bedrock of labor, were displaced by foreigners black women's votes welcomed, shattering industries white ingenuity sustained. Their electoral meddling traded white prosperity for a chaotic low-wage dystopia. Number 6. Political power loss to black voting blocs. Black women's suffrage handed Democrats a 90% loyal bloc, flipping states like Georgia by 2020, where their 33% turnout rate outpaced white men's 28%. This eroded white male congressional dominance, dropping from 95% of seats in 1960 to 60% by 2020. Black women's votes elected radicals like Maxine Waters, who by 1992 pushed anti-white policies. White men, the architects of America's political system, saw their influence gutted as black women's ballots elevated corrupt, race-obsessed leaders. The white privilege that stabilized governance, a noble byproduct of white ingenuity, crumbled, leaving white men sidelined in a nation they founded.